All this to just explain to you the following things, which is we have a complete amalgam in the discussion. The German readiness to see ourselves as part into the responsibility, reckless lending and these arguments, not present in the mainstream discussion. A very narrow-minded economic discourse, which is impermeable from the outside. And this feeds public opinion, of course, or it is a gate opener to populist tendencies, of course, you know. To that, you add a completely changed, and I developed this all in my paper, you added a completely changed German Bundestag that has seen the biggest rotation in the last elections, where the last people who have been mandates before '89, so sort of institutional knowledge about what Germany has been and what the German European narrative has once been before '89, say the Schäuble narrative, right? You have 60 persons left in the Bundestag who have been doing deputies before '89. So it's a huge rotation, and the most youngest part is the liberals, which interestingly enough are the less European party in the system now. I don't say this to blame anybody, and I'm not blaming my country. I just want to say that this country has profoundly changed, and that we have lost the narrative, and the narrative is like, you know, Voltaire in Candide, you know, il faut cultiver son jardin. And we didn't cultiver notre jardin, right? So somebody needs to rouse the flowers. And I am of a generation where I thought it's done. 92 done. Maastricht, dry, in trockenen Tüchern, you know, in dry, finished. No, it's not. And so the amalgam of, I would argue, all innocent tendencies. Nothing there is a master plan, and that is my assessment. There's not nasty Merkel out there who tries to wind Germany out of Europe. There's no blind industry who's running behind China. It's not a master concept here that Germany wants to behave differently. Or I feel like there's just something like historical gravity coming, and that comes from many things at a time. It comes from bottom up, this, you know, innocent nationalism things like soccer game winning and Lena song contest things, which are important. German flags since 2006, never seen in my life before, right? Innocent bottom up, right? You add to that a complete complexity of internationalization, globalization, who does a difference whether we lose jobs to Czech Republic or to China. I mean, probably not my mother, right? So is Europe a fortress? Is it not? Can it defend? Does Europe add to that? Who knows? Can we disentangle that discussion? Huh? Can we make the case for Europe in that discussion? We cannot. You add to that the whole changement of the political establishment, and you add to that the very fact that Germany is finally a sovereign country. And we have the inverse tendency of what we had in the past, which is that foreign policy was basically driving our domestic discussions, from Wiederbewaffnung 55 to Euro missiles 83 to the Euro question 82, and just with Kohl, just Schmidt-Kohl, Adenauer, Schmidt-Kohl, everybody running it, because foreign policy structured our domestic discussions. Now it's the inverse. Domestic policy structures our foreign policy decisions, and that is what you have seen. Karlsruhe, Nordrhein-Westfalen, Baden-Württemberg. I had an Estonian journalist on 10th of May who called me sort of, what the hell is Nordrhein-Westphalia? And I felt, okay, does not look so evident, and you're sitting in, you know, the Baltic countries, okay? So, but this is, I think, what changed in Germany. And again, I think nothing of this is nasty. Nothing of this is, I think it's more by default than by strategy, which is a pity in itself, but still it's more by default than a strategy. And if anybody is to blame, perhaps a strategy, a government for lacking strategy, yeah, you may blame a government for that, but German citizens are not to blame, the non-elite citizens. Because I think what is in this problematic constellations of completely inversed victims discussions. The Irish as being a victims and the Greeks being a victims, but the Germans a victim too, right? So we're all a victim of Europe, which is a little bit crazy. I argue, and I know that this is a very dangerous argument because apparently it's not so easy to do econometric simulations to demonstrate this in the figures, yeah? But my God's feeling, sort of nombril, is that there is a point to make that the wealth, the collective wealth that Germany had through Europe, single market and euro, has not or has been unevenly distributed in the domestic wealth distribution. which means that not everybody profited in the same way from Europe. And this is why Germany is now losing middle classes for the political project of Europe, right? We had 10, 15 years where if you are not an export-driven worker or worker in an export-driven company like BMW, Siemens, and so on and so forth, you have rather relative losses in salary than gains. So how do I explain to these people that they are winner of a single market? Huh? So the perception is wrong from the outside. Germany is seen the bold exporter, China and Brüderle told it all over the place. That's the wrong communication, I feel, from Germany. We are so bold, so strong, and economic miracle number 2, right? From the inside, Germany is poorer and more fragile than at any time in history that I have lived in this country. We have erosion in the east. You have poor and empty regions in the east. You have sometimes 30% unemployment in the former GDR. You have towns that die in the western part where I come from. We have this whole demography, So this perspective that we are just about export China giant Germany, which is a thing that we conveyed, is not true. Not true for the ordinary German. And therefore, you can catch him very easily on why should he pay for Greece and not for German kids, for instance, right? I had this. Every third day, I'm on TV in Germany. And the questions I get most is, why do we pay for Greece and not for the education of our children? These sort of things. Is it normal? Is it understandable? Probably it is. So I guess I stop here. If we conclude, I think it's much about, I honestly think this crisis can be fixed. It can. It costs a lot of money, 13 billion for Germany. We can talk soft restructuring, real restructuring, who does what when, how we manage it. But I was sitting in a conference of 50 experts from banks, among them Klaus Regling and who have you. And there were 50 people who know more than I and who basically said everybody, it can be, we know how to fix it. The Irish and the Greek and the Pole. That's not the problem. We need to bring it from techniques to politics. We need to find the political mindset that allows us to apply the technical solutions which are on the table. And for that, we need to shape a discourse. And that is what I'm here for, to give you a little help to understand the German discourse, to give me some help to better understand the Irish discourse. And then Derek and I, we will try to work. Okay?